joining us. You've seen her in some commercials. She's been in a Kotex commercial. I saw her in an Adidas commercial. She is out there living her fabulous life. She is the author of Yoke, My Yoga of Self-Acceptance. Let me welcome internationally acclaimed voice and wellness, Jessamyn Stanley. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. How's your day going today?
Awesome, and thank you for asking. And that's the one and only Madame Tonya Pinkins in the building.
Tonya, how's it
Tony
going?
Award winning. Yes. And who's your friend there? Let me see.
Oh Lord, I didn't know y'all could see him. This is Baby Shark.
Oh, it's a Chihuahua.
He's a little mini Chihuahua. He's, how old are you? Like 6, somewhere over 6, 7 years old. But everybody always thinks he's so young, and I'm like, he drank from the fountain of youth.
That's right. He's black. Black don't crack. You tell him it's a black dog.
Right.
That's right. It's a Negro dog, and it's all of that. All right. So
thank you for knowing. Yeah.
Tell us, Jessamyn, your journey into yoga, because for many Black people, and I've heard this a lot, especially those of us in the church. That's some devil worship. You doing something that ain't, you talking about some Om and all that. Who you praying to, Jessamyn?
Thank you. Literally, this is like what I hear from everybody in my family. It's like, what are you talking about? Yoga? For real? No, I always thought that yoga was just for thin white women, honestly. And I had tried it once when I was in high school and just absolutely hated it. I was like, this is awful. And so anyone who says like, yeah, I've been to yoga, I don't know why you're into it, I feel them completely, because I felt that way. But when I was in graduate school, I was just going through a rough time in my life. And a friend of mine, she was really into yoga, and she was like, oh my God, you should come, it's going to change your life. And I was like, I'm absolutely not doing that, because I knew I didn't like it. I knew it wasn't for me. And she got me caught up on a Groupon. That's the only reason that I ended up going in the end. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I'll go one time, and then I paid this money, it'll be fine. I just won't go back. But when I went, it was a very alienating experience. Like, I was certainly one of the only Black people, definitely one of the only fat people. None of the postures felt accessible to me at all. Everything seemed impossible. Even just to sit with my legs crossed seemed impossible to me. But I didn't realize how many times in my life I told myself I wasn't allowed to do stuff. Like, I would be like, no, I can't do that. I can't go further. And like, I found myself in this yoga class, looking at myself in the mirror, looking at everyone else practicing and thinking like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, everybody knows I shouldn't be here. Everybody knows I don't know what to do. And then I would just be like, you can still try. Even though you think like you can't practice the postures like everyone else, and the teacher can see it and everyone in here knows, you can still just try. And this was before I even understood, like, I was not open to the spirituality of yoga at all at this stage, because honestly, I was like, should we even be practicing this? This is the way that I had come to understand it. It was through like a South Asian gaze. So I was like, should people who are not South Asian even be practicing this? And at that stage, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this because it makes me feel good. And it makes me more connected to myself. And I don't know what that means in a larger sense, but I'm just going to keep at it. And that is honestly why I still practice. It is my medicine. I just come to it as a way to be able to connect with myself and to be able to be present in my life.
When was that aha, that light bulb? All right. So it wasn't that first time, because you were still doubt.
Not. Deep doubt. I started practicing, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I was in graduate school. It gave me the confidence to take a leave from graduate school to move to Durham, North Carolina, where I live now. And to Durham, I could not afford to be practicing yoga in studios, and I stopped practicing for a period of time. And during that time, a bunch of sad stuff happened. I talk about it a little bit in my book, my first book, Everybody Yoga, but it's just the things that happen in life. People pass on, you are reacting to that. And I found myself slipping back into the place that I'd been in before I started practicing yoga. And I was like, what was making me feel good before yoga? Okay, I just got to figure out a way to do this from where I am right now. And so I was living in, me and my partner were sharing this tiny apartment. I would like push all the furniture out of this one corner of the apartment and roll out. I had my dad's old Pilates mat. I rolled out that mat and I would just practice the few yoga postures that I was familiar with, that I felt like it was okay for me to do at home. And that's what really became my medicine. And it was something that like, it was beyond, oh, I got to make sure that I go to class every day. It was literally like, I'm just going to do this because I'm not looking for like changes in my body or anything. I'm like, I feel bad and then I do these things and now I feel better and I'm just going to keep doing it. So I would say that that was probably about a year after I started practicing yoga. And I think that personally, I'm reconnecting to that feeling every time I come to the mat. But the thing that I've noticed is that, and this is really what Yoke, my yoga of self-acceptance is about, is that yoga is not just happening when you're on your yoga mat. It's happening in every part of your life. And being open to the same things that the postures offer when you're in a challenging experience in the other parts of your life, or when you're being forced to reckon with the different pieces of yourself, that's when the yoga is really, it's really changing your outlook and making space for evolution that might not be possible otherwise.
Yoga is a verb for you, not a
Mm,
noun.
mm. It is all and. It is both and. Yoga is a doing and it's also a being. So the book is called Yoke because that is like my definition of that's how I would define practicing yoga. Yoga means union, ultimately. It means to bring together. And it's about bringing together these different parts of yourself. The good, I think of it as like the good, the bad, and the ugly of yourself. And especially being able to see that without the darkness within yourself, there could not be any light. And that union, I call it yoking, like yoking two things together. And that is a verb, but at the same time, it's a noun. It's really something that I think defies what words can offer us.
I know the first time I did yoga it was called a hatha yoga when I was in high school, and I loved it. And then when I came to New York, people were doing these very athletic yogas, and I've just never been athletic. And so that peaceful thing was gone. And then every time I would get into a class, it was like gymnastics. And I have rarely been able to get back to the hatha yoga, which is the gentle breathing, being present with yourself, going slowly. I briefly did some Bikram, like I did, that's 76 consecutive days of Bikram. And for me, part of that practice was just, can I stay in the room? Some days I wouldn't do any postures. It was stay in the room. That was my yoga.
Right, that is exactly right. Literally. I think that being able to, and the heat in the Bikram practice, the heat is such an interesting lesson in and of itself. The room is heated to like 100 to 104 degrees, and you're in that space, and it's literally like your immediate, or at least my immediate reaction to that is, I have to get out of here. I cannot do this anymore. And that just being able to spend 90 minutes really considering, do I really have to get out of this space? Where is that coming from? Is that something that I do? Is this the only place in my life where I'm trying to get out of discomfort? I doubt it. Seems like it's probably happening in a lot of other places. And it's challenging so much of yourself. And that's why I always think like whenever a lot of people have had negative experiences with yoga because of this obsession with physicality and athleticism and fitness and all this stuff that really has absolutely nothing to do with yoking the light and the dark within yourself. It's not, you could practice, every living is a posture. So it really doesn't matter what shape your body is taking. But being able to like just sit in the hardness of it, the complexity of it,
Even
That
the
is what
joy.
yoga
People,
really is. The joy, because that is what comes
joy.
from all of that is joy. It is an explosion of joy. That's, I think sometimes there's confusion over like, because you'll be like, no, there's so much beauty in the present moment. And people are like, what are you talking about? There's not, there's so much chaos going on at all times. What are you talking about? And it's like, when you're pressed to the wall, and everybody knows this feeling, when there's no other recourse, you have to smile. There's nothing else to do but smile in that place. And it's yoga is just a million different opportunities to experience that.
And I think of the Zen koan about the man who's being chased by the tiger, and he's coming up on a cliff, and he, leaps over the cliff and holds onto a branch, and there's the tiger getting ready to like either claw him or destroy the branch. And he sees a strawberry just out of reach. And in his last moment, he just reaches for that strawberry.
866-801-8255. Tonya Pinkins is here. Of course, Jessamyn Stanley. The book is called Yoke, My Yoga of Self-Acceptance. In her foreword, she said, I wrote most of the essays in this book before 2020, before COVID-19, when Breonna Taylor and George Floyd were still with us. Every day, more of what we know falls apart. The dream of America is burning. Everyone is scared of what will happen next. No one is immune to the fear, and everyone's fear is valid. Pull up a chair. Your fear is welcome here. You are welcome here, exactly as you are. You don't need to change anything or do anything differently. You don't need to hide anything or pretend that something's not there. All your sadness, all your anger, all your doubt, all your frustration, all your confusion, it's all welcome here. All of you is welcome here. That's the part where it's uncomfortable.